U.S. Men's Soccer Podcast. I'm Tim, joined here by my brother Ryan, as always. We are bringing you another episode here, and an exciting one, finally, with a lot to talk about, because the United States, for the first time, maybe second time, I believe, in this octagonal, put on, as far as the score goes, a pretty dominant performance. Ryan, what was your first impression of this result?
It's what we needed to do going into the game. There's really no other way to look at it. It doesn't matter how much we win by, how much we won the game by. It matters that we got the win. Yeah, okay, we win 5-1, which makes the goal differential better. But all in all, we're going into that game with the mentality of this is must win. Right? Costa Rica did something we weren't expecting. They went and beat Canada. That really threw the brackets around. Meaning we needed the win against Panama, and other than the first 10 minutes where the U.S. looked kind of shaky and like they might give up an early goal or two, I think after that, Panama had very few and far between chances. Yes, they do get one goal very late in the game. I think it was like the 80-something minute.
Let's cut to the chase. Let's cut to the chase. What everybody's talking about. Does this lock us up? Does this seal the deal? Can we say, because if you didn't see, the United States unraveled the banner that said qualified for Qatar 2022 after this game. And there were some cringy posts. ESPN FC posted like the yikes face.
Like the team unveiled the banner?
Unveiled the banner. I think you and I had both turned the game off. I know I had definitely turned the game off. I don't stick around too much for the post-match stuff. But you and I were talking during the game. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
So, the realistic answer, the realistic answer is yes, we've qualified. Mathematically, no.
What has to happen for us to get knocked out?
We don't even get knocked out, right?
Nothing,
if we get absolutely blown out by Costa Rica in San Jose, and that's San Jose, Costa Rica, not San Jose, California. So the game is in Costa Rica. Even if we get blown out by them 7-0, let's just pull up a nightmare situation, right? Like the U.S. just absolutely falls apart.
We get a double red card. Both of our goalies get hurt. Costa Rica has a field day.
It's just an absolute nightmare, and Costa Rica scores 7 goals. Okay, so now we finish 4th. That is...
It's a playoff, right? We play a playoff against Oceanic qualifier.
Correct. We'll play a playoff game. Now, that being said, if Mexico also loses and we lose 6-0, we make it. Right. It's not a playoff. We're just in. So if you weren't realistically, anyone that watches soccer knows you don't have games end 6-0 against teams that are very close in skill level.
So what about 5-1? Was 5-1 kind of an oddball here? Is it safe to say this is an odd man out for this?
It is an odd man out, and I think another reason you see that is it's a game Panama has to win.
Right. So,
right?
But I'll pause you here just for anybody who wasn't keeping track of this and following. Going into this game, Panama had to have a win. They only had a contention with Costa Rica. They were in contention for that 4th place spot to give themselves a playoff into it. Panama absolutely had to have a victory. And if
they needed 3 points. They needed 3.
Yes. If they did not win, they were completely eliminated. The United States needing basically no result to get us kind of anywhere, but knowing our final game against Costa Rica, if we did not secure a win tonight, Panama also stayed in contention for that 4th place spot. But with a result that occurred, everybody but the top 4 teams, so that's Canada, Mexico, United States, and Costa Rica, have all mathematically been completely eliminated, and now we're just sort of
fighting for spots,
round robining for that bottom spot. So Canada with no shot at getting 4th.
Well, it's not even just round robining for that last spot. Like I sent you an article earlier, so this just hypothetically, if the U.S. beats Costa Rica,
I should have said jockeying for position. Yeah, round robining is a term.
Yeah. So if the U.S. beats Costa Rica and Mexico doesn't beat El Salvador, which is possible, and then just in other parts of the world, if the North Macedonia beats Portugal in their European playoff game to make the World Cup, and Netherlands...
They're going to knock down Italy and Portugal, you think?
Well, let's just say hypothetically, and the Netherlands don't beat Germany. Right? The Netherlands are technically a higher seed. They're supposed to win that game. If those four things happen, not only does the U.S. qualify, but we qualify into Group 1 for World Cup seeding, which means we are the head of a group.
Which is a big deal.
Which meaning the odds of us getting thrown in a group of death goes way down.
Right, way down.
So, is there something to play for in that last game? Yes. Obviously, Canada could lose to Panama, and we could win the group. Mexico could lose to El Salvador, and Costa Rica could beat us, and then Mexico's in that playoff spot.
Is it unrealistic to think that the United States will lose this game? Like, what do you think the chances are? If you had to pick a result, do you think the United States is walking away with a win on Wednesday?
It's about 50-50. I think the game could go either way. It could even be a draw. So let's say it's 33-33-33 for all of them. This game could really go any way. The U.S. could win, the U.S. could draw, and the U.S. could lose. Do I think the U.S. loses by more than a goal? No. I think realistically, if we were to lose, it'd be 2-1, maybe 3-2, but probably 2-1 or 1-0.
All right, so let's get into this game. United States 5-1 win over Panama. I'm going to start on a point that you and I had talked about in lots of games, and then we'll sort of break the team down back to front. We had lots of other games where the United States had chances very early on in the game and missed them. And, you know, at the El Salvador game that you and I were at, we saw in Mexico games, in Jamaica, we had these chances that we just couldn't capitalize on. And as a result, you and I sort of felt like we had lost some steam, we had lost some momentum. And looking back on those games, sort of asked that hypothetical question. If we had put the ball in the net, does it open the floodgates? Does it, you know, allow us to go forward with confidence? And does it allow the scoring surge? Is the game that we just watched the answer to that hypothetical question?
It's tough to know because every team plays differently, right? So if you go back to that El Salvador game where we played El Salvador, we scored in pretty early into the second half, right? It was not very long into the second half that Anthony Robinson scores a goal. El Salvador needs to win that game. Mm-hmm. So that being said, El Salvador has to push people forward, which they do. But even with that, the U.S. doesn't score any more goals.
We don't.
So
as far as
it's tough to say that just because we score a goal early means we're going to run away with a game.
That's true, and it did look to be that way for this Costa Rica game, though. Going
Panama.
Sorry, yes, right. The Panama games. I got my mind on Wednesday. When you think about these goals, that first penalty kick call, was there any doubt? Does that seem like a controversial call to you? Obviously, if you're Panama, it seems pretty controversial, right? You're trying to make a big deal out of it. It's going to VAR.
I don't even think if you're a Panama fan that you find that controversial. That's the players maybe because it's the heat of the moment. But
I mean, we saw hands to face, and then finally hands to the throat.
Yeah, that has to get
Zimmerman
called.
sold that a little bit, maybe 15%, maybe 20%. Zimmerman didn't sell it to me enough that it wasn't clear. It was a foul. He put his hands on his throat. He threw him to the ground, and then the ball hits him in the hand.
Yes.
Right. So like the ball was obviously coming to Zimmerman because the ball
hitting him in the hand. It hits him. It hits the Panama guy in the hand, but his arms are in a natural position. I don't think that gets called.
Handball. I'm just saying, like, if you want to add insult to injury, the ball is obviously going to Zimmerman.
Correct. And the rules state intentional touching of the face with their hands is a foul. So whether it's a penalty kick or not doesn't matter. If that happens anywhere on the field, it's a foul.
Right, it's a foul, and in some cases,
so there's no difference in the penalty spot.
You get cards. I think he's lucky to walk away without a yellow card. I think the referee made the decision that because this is a penalty kick, that's your penalty, right? No pun intended. And so you're getting this yellow card, and that's it. Or you're not going to get the yellow card. We're just going to give you the penalty kick and the goal. And you know, so let's go back a little bit before this. That first 10 minutes, like you had talked about, pretty shaky from the United States. I think from the entire game's aspect, both teams struggled in the midfield. We struggled to build. We struggled to string things together. We knew the game was going to be open. You and I had talked about games like this being better for the United States. We're better in transition. We have guys that move the ball quickly through the midfield, that want the ball in the midfield. And when the midfield gets stretched, we have a way to press and stretch the defense. But in those first 10, 15 minutes, for me, it was Anthony Robinson that really struggled in the back. Tons of poor touches. I mean, what was
even
it? Like
Tyler Adams.
In like the third or fourth minute, like just blatantly kicking the ball away to the, to Panama. Was there anybody else that stood out for you that just really didn't come out of the gates with the fervor that you were thinking of? And do you think the Mexico game had anything to do with that?
I think Yunus Musa came out a little sluggish, and I think Tyler Adams came out a little sluggish. And I do think the Mexico game has something to do with that. It's tough. It is tough to play a game that high above sea level and then fly home the next day, because they're not flying after that game, right? That game got done at midnight our time, so that's what, like 10:30, 10 o'clock in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. Most teams aren't getting on a plane and flying home.
Well, even if you do, I mean, you're probably looking at a flight 2 hours later, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you're landing. Yeah. You're landing. I'm guessing the camp was back. Maybe they flew to Florida, right? They would have landed in Florida. They'd probably come back to Texas. So it's either way, whether you fly out that night or you fly out the next day, it's an exhausting day, right?
So
very sleepy.
And then to come back and play a game like 2 days later. I know it's 3, but we're taking a day out for travel. So to come back and play a game 2 days later, mm-hmm. It's tough. And I think it was noticeable. And I said it to you, and I said it to our dad, who I talked to today for a little bit, that the guys that didn't start in Mexico, that didn't play in the Azteca, I thought were our best looking players for the first 30, 40, or for the first half of the game. And then, we start making subs and things like that. But Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferreira, De La Torre, all looked fantastic. Now, obviously, Pulisic looked great. I don't think the elevation effects
he's just
affected him as much.
But let's go to Jesus Ferreira for
same with Walker Zimmerman as well. I don't think
Walker Zimmerman is another caliber of a player. Going up front,
correct.
Though, Jesus Ferreira, I think yes, he gets a goal, right, and that's big. We've been looking for the center strikers to get goals.
First one since October.
Right, and so it's a big deal. But more importantly than that, he looked confident, both before the goal and after the goal. His shots were dangerous. He was getting himself into a big position. And the one thing we saw from him that we have not seen from Ricardo Pepi is this hunger for the ball. He was confident. He was aggressive. He went after it. He didn't get bullied off the ball. He didn't get bodied off the ball. And he fought to get himself into a position that would allow him to score goals and be dangerous both on and off the ball.
Yeah, and he even tries a bicycle kick at one point. And it doesn't come off his foot great. It hits him twice. I think it hits his foot and then goes off his shin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you can see him stand up, and Paul Arriola looks at him, Christian Pulisic looks at him, they're all smiling, right? And that's something that I think shows the confidence, because before he scores his goals in the MLS and scores that goal for us against Panama, I don't think he tries something like that. I just don't see it. I see him trying to settle it and then turn and shoot, or he lays the ball off to someone. And I like his confidence of no, I can score this if I do it right. I'm going to go for it.
Agreed. And sort of to allow these moments to happen, one of the things the United States finally did very consistently, I know that midfield buildup was lacking, right? I know that our defensive structure was struggling, but you and I had just mentioned 3 of those 4 defenders all played in the Azteca, right? They're hurting, they're tired.
Yep.
But all of those things aside, something that we've talked about consistently, episode in, episode out, week after week, is the United States getting balls into the box from dangerous positions, right? We would attack with the ball, we would get into the final third, and then that would be it. Nothing would happen to be crickets.
Correct.
And this game was the polar opposite of that. Yes, we struggled defensively to get the ball out. Yes, we made some bad passes in the midfield. But when we got that ball into the final third, that ball was direct. It was aggressive. We took guys on. We swung the ball into the box. And we got a lot of results. I mean, 5 goals is nothing to laugh about. Yes, 2 of them are on penalty kicks. But Paul Arriola goes up for that header. Yes, it's a fantastic up from that little man, right? But it's also a ball coming into the box into a dangerous spot from Robinson, right?
Yeah, but let's talk about before
wings.
that. Let's talk about before that. The ball gets played over the top. A great ball played over the top by Tyler Adams to Christian Pulisic, who brings it down, runs into the box, realizes he doesn't have much, turns, and goes to lay the ball back. And as he lays the ball back, he gets absolutely ripped.
Right.
Right? So that one does start in the midfield. Like, yes, okay, our midfield struggled, but that doesn't mean they didn't do anything all game.
Oh, no, yeah, and I'm not trying to say that they didn't do anything all game.
Because that starts out with, we build out of the back, Walker Zimmerman controls the back, gets the ball moving around, gets the ball to the midfield, Tyler Adams picks his heads up and goes, holy crap, I can hit this ball, and Christian will beat that guy. Boom, ball gets played, and he does beat him. It's just a little too heavy, ball goes a little too far for him to do anything with it. Christian realizes it, makes the heads-up play to turn around, let everyone catch up, plays a great ball back to Antony, who makes an unbelievable ball in the box. And Paul Arriola, if you watch the highlights, they even put a little marker on him to show you how far he runs to make that header. So when Pulisic is about to turn around with the ball, Paul Arriola is probably 40 yards from goal. He runs all the way there. Christian Pulisic plays the ball back. Anthony Robinson sees Arriola running in, plays the ball perfectly. Arriola outjumps a man 6 inches taller than him, and boom, heads it right in the back of the net.
It does, and it's a great goal. And so I compare this game, as far as I'm talking to, like, you think about the Mexico game at home, and you think about the Canada game, both in Canada and at home. And the dominant possession that the United States had, the consistency of touches, the fluidity of the game, and the calmness that our midfield played with. Obviously, we didn't see that for a number of reasons. One, it didn't seem to be the tactic style, and two, you're playing 3 guys that really haven't played that much together. Sure, Adams and Musa had played, but we were missing Weston McKennie, who's a big part of that midfield, right? And
correct.
You're playing Luca De La Torre, who has a very different style. I like his style.
Yes.
I like that he gets the ball, he's aggressive, and he goes. It complements, in some ways, Adams wanting to sit back, but it left Yunus Musa in limbo a lot, right? It didn't mean that it was bad. It didn't mean Yunus Musa didn't do. I think Yunus Musa found himself in no man's land, a lot of his own fault, right? He's falling out of favor with me. We do a lot of dribbling. We have a lot of poor touches. I don't think he's by any means a bad player. He makes great decisions. He's somebody who's worth having in the midfield. I don't think he'll keep a starting spot over a player like Luca De La Torre, but either way, which one of those things, I guess it's silly to ask which one of those things is better, right? Would you want a dominant performance where you never lose the ball and win 1-0, or do you want a result like this? Do you think there's a way for the United States to sort of mesh those two things together? That's the missing piece, right? How do we take a possession game like that Mexico-Canada game and also get the confidence to go forward like we just did and swing those balls in the box?
So one thing that you brought up is the guys don't play with each other. Some of those guys are coming on, playing with guys they haven't played with yet. And now, yes, you'll say, well, they practice with each other at camp, so they know how each other plays. Yes, it's different in a game. Well, anyone that's ever played a sport knows that practices, you can do as much as you want in them. Playing in the actual game is slightly different.
So you think you look at the lineup, though, this was the most random lineup to me since the first window. The first qualifying window was all over the place. So I was honestly shocked at this lineup, albeit it worked, right? So Greg doing Greg stuff seems to continue to pay off, and so maybe I got to hate a little bit less. But
you could see it. You could see it with some things. And I made the comment to you when we were watching the game. There was a bunch of times where Shaq Moore would be making a run because he was playing in the Serginho Dest role, because Dest is still obviously hurt. And he would be making a run, and the ball would go to Timothy Weah, and Timothy Weah would want to lay it. Was it not? No, it wasn't Timothy Weah. Who was it?
Arriola and Musa.
Arriola, thank you. Go to Arriola, and Arriola would want to play the ball for Shaq Moore to continue his run, like a nice 1-2. And Arriola would play the ball, or Jesus Ferreira would play the ball, and Shaq Moore has stopped his run.
We saw that a lot. That's a good point. And it wasn't even
Right?
just on that side of the field. There was so
And it
many
happened
times,
with
yes.
De La Torre. De La Torre goes to do things
Balls
that,
back to
like,
Adams. Balls
like
back
Tyler
to
Adams
Yep.
isn't expecting or isn't ready for, because that's not how the team plays. He's like, I'm going to give the ball to De La Torre. De La Torre is going to make a run, play the ball to Robinson, who's streaking up the wing. And then De La Torre goes, oh, I got the ball. Oh, Tyler Adams is right there. I'll just play the ball back to him. And Tyler Adams is going a completely different way.
Yep, and we hit balls behind each other. We hit balls in front of each other. And it did, and it was not frustrating. It was an appropriate amount of sort of dysfunctional. Now,
Correct.
That being said, if you take the score line away, I lost something. Am I back? What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
That was super weird. All right, anyway, we're back. If you take away the score line, right, of it being 5-1, that result doesn't feel very good knowing you had to win that game, right? Disjunction passes, guys kind of all over the place. That, if you know what I'm saying, like, do you get what I'm saying? The result sort of maybe
it's
puts
unfortunate.
this like haze in front of our eyes that we're not really looking. I'm not saying we should be nitpicking this, right? I've talked a lot. You can find bad things if you look hard enough. There were a lot of mistakes like that are understandable, and they're appropriate because we are playing with guys that we're not used to playing with.
Correct.
My fault, my frustration is I don't think that was a good decision for a game that we had to win. To play guys that showed on the field that they couldn't play together as fluidly as we thought.
So let's look at the changes to the starting lineup. So in the back, the only change was Shaq Moore starting. Correct? Okay. So that right there, it's probably fine. You're only changing one of your backs.
Mm-hmm.
The midfield.
And I had liked Shaq Moore at the beginning. He, I said, he fell out of favor, but
the change in the midfield is only De La Torre. Right? You're still playing. You're just not playing Kellen Acosta. You're playing De La Torre, Adams, and Yunus Musa.
And I'm also going to put an asterisk there and say Weston McKennie. He's also not there.
Correct. But so looking at our Mexico game, we changed one defender, one midfielder, two forwards. So we go Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola, who play with each other in the MLS.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying there's no excuse, really?
I'm not saying that there's no excuse. I'm just saying that it's not. You make it sound like the lineup is a complete disaster, and how could Craig Berhalter throw this lineup in? And there's really only two changes that seem weird, right? Like Shaq Moore and Paul Arriola are the only two that are like a weird. Why did you start them? But Paul Arriola showed that he should start.
Maybe Arriola just has this effect on me. I know that what was like the commentator saying that he was like America's man or something like that.
He is America's go-to, like,
on my spine because I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to stop playing this man, but he scored, right?
He assisted Jesus Ferreira.
I hate on players and they just score goals for us, you know.
And he drew one of the fouls that led to a penalty, because we got a free kick from the spot, which caused Miles Robinson to get taken down in the 45th plus 4 minutes, which led to another Christian Pulisic spot kick. So, that being said, you might not like him, and I don't get the whole he's America's go-to, everyone loves him.
He gets the job done.
He's a great guy, but he showed that game that why are we not starting him?
Right. It's fair if you're looking at results standpoint.
He played better than Ricardo Pepe has played, and he's played better than Timothy Weah has played. He might not be as fast as Timothy Weah, but he showed that he can play better. And he gets himself into the right areas to, 1, score goals, 2, help his team score goals, and 3, he knows how to draw fouls.
He does.
Because he's small. And I think that helps, right?
That was one of the things you and I talked about. He does know how to he does a great job at drawing fouls.
Right, he's 5'6". Anyone on the field is bigger than him, which means it's already going to look like you're fouling him. Mm-hmm. So he does have that going for him, where all of a sudden there's two Panama guys closing in on him. One of them reaches in a little bit too much. Arriola just has to go down because the referee goes, "Wow, there's two of you guys teaming up on a 5'6" dude. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a foul somewhere in there."
Right.
And most of the time, I think he was actually fouled. I'm sure if we look at the fouls in the game, there was a grand total of 38 fouls that whole game.
Another tight game from a young referee, yeah.
Yeah, the U.S. had 23. Panama only had 15. fouls. Do I believe that everything in that game was a foul? No. Do I believe that the fouls that got called that resulted in something should have been? Yes.
Yep.
I believe the fouls that actually had an impact on the game should have been called, and the only one that wasn't called was the first penalty kick where Walker Zimmerman gets grabbed by the throat, thrown to the ground, and something that most people might not have seen watching, but Walker Zimmerman does a great job as the center back of when that ball goes out of bounds for a throw-in, he makes sure he is the first one there to grab the ball and not throw it in. And people are going to be like, well, why is that important? It's important because it allows the VAR to look and tell the referee he has to come look at this. If that ball gets thrown in right away, there's less of a chance that the referee stops the game to go look at it because you have to wait.
You can even watch the highlight because Zimmerman's going like this. He's even saying like he's going to look at it because you could tell somebody on the field must have said something to him. And Zimmerman was looking at his teammates saying it's so he can look at it.
Yes.
I want him to look at it.
And that's something that you might not have seen from someone like Ricardo Pepe, Jesus Ferreira.
Right, he's got that experience. Yep.
Even in the back, like Shaq Moore, like it was a throw it on Shaq Moore's side. Walker Zimmerman beat him to the ball to pick it up.
Right,
which means
slow it down and stop him.
Yes, so that's something that says Walker Zimmerman knew what he was doing. He's like, no. I'm giving this referee time. He needs to go look at this because Walker Zimmerman knows he was fouled.
He does. All right, so let's go to your goalkeeping experience here, right? We're gonna take a look at your goalkeeping experience. Did Zach Steffen get hurt, and was it a good idea for us to play him the whole game? And I know that that's like a pretty bold question to ask. It looked to me like he got hurt. What were your thoughts, and how did you feel about Zach Steffen playing the whole game?
Okay, so do I think he got hurt? No. Do I think it hurt to do what he did? Yes.
Fair.
So the one save he makes where he does like a weird, I don't even know what you want to call it, like a half kick yoga pose, makes a save. That, and the way he lands, that hurts. It probably didn't cause an injury. It might have. We don't know. I mean, they didn't release anything today to say he is injured.
Right.
So I would assume
the word injured is like, if you don't know, Zach Steffen is prone to back spasms and has had a lot of back problems.
And I don't think anything that happened in that game would have affected his back. What I will say from someone who played goalie, if you are coming off of your line, you cannot not win the ball.
Correct.
Right, like I know I used a double negative, so it's hard for people, but if you're coming off your line, that ball is yours. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's not I think I can get it. It's I'm getting the ball, whether it's a punch, a hand, knocking it away from someone, catching it. And there was 3 times in that game where Zach Steffen came out to win the ball, and he did not win it. And
it was very unlike him, and it sort
correct.
Of left me in a position. We saw Ethan Horvath warming up at some point. Ethan Horvath's been a great player for us. He's been a great goalkeeper for us. He stood out in the Gold Cup, made big saves, having to come in last minute for Zach Steffen getting injured. I had no worries with him coming in, especially knowing where the score was in the game. And that's sort of where I felt. At first, when I thought Zach Steffen was hurt, it's 1 or 2-0. I don't know. I mean, maybe, right? We have the lead. But when the score rose to 3 or 4 and Zach Steffen was still kind of cringing back there, I thought, it's okay to give this guy a sub, right? We don't have to worry about anything else.
So, and here's another thing. So all of that happened in the first half, right? Mm-hmm. Where Zach Steffen looks like he could get hurt. That means not only do you get halftime for him to rest, the medical staff gets to look at him. He also gets to talk with Greg Berhalter, which means at halftime he could look at Greg and just be like, hey, I know it looks like I was hurting out there. I didn't actually hurt anything. It just hurt the way I made some of those saves. I'm fine. That's the only reason I went down. Like, I just needed some time so that I wasn't in pain. And Greg Berhalter's going to be like, yeah, that's fine. You can stay in.
Yeah. Right. That makes total sense. And obviously the goal that Panama scores is just a fantastic goal. Right. It doesn't matter who's in net. I mean, you got to give credit to them. I told Ryan at this, I'll tell everybody here now, I am glad it was 5-0 when that goal got scored, because that is a typical goal that gets scored on us in tight situations when it's 0-0 or when
and we lose.
Right. Or when we're up 1-0 and the other team ties it and we needed a win to go through. So it's a great goal. and I think it was a great redemption moment for him. He drew 2 penalty kicks. It's hard to say redemption when you give the other team 2 penalty kicks and basically like start the train rolling for.
I will say he was their best player on the field.
He played hard.
In my opinion,
I can't even think of what was his name.
Godoy.
Godoy, that's right.
Yes. I will say, as much as he struggled defensively to mark our guys because we're a little bit bigger and stronger than him in the box, I will say he looked to me like Panama's best player.
He did. So and he held the midfield pretty well for them. And,
yes.
And I think it. Yeah. It was a tough game for Panama. I think that this was like one of the first times that we heard Stuart Holden say it. There were some teams in CONCACAF that when they stepped up and did the things they needed to do, it was pretty clear nobody else in CONCACAF could hold to them. So thinking about this result for the United States, do you think that this result is more of a reflection of who we are as a team and the rest of the octagonal wasn't, or do you think this is an outlier?
I probably a little of both, right? Like this is...
You don't get to give me a little both. No, that's fine.
Yeah, no. I mean, we get lucky with the penalties, right? Like it's I don't want to say a stupid play, but it's a very... It's not a play you'll see every day. You don't normally see a defender. It's
called very often, right? I mean, that happens a lot.
You also don't normally see a defender put his hands on someone's throat, right? Like legitimately, like around his throat. It's not something you see. You see guys tussling arms, like maybe like it comes up a little bit, like over here, but you don't ever see like the full grab on the throat. So that's just something you don't see, and it basically happened twice. Right, like he does it to Walker Zimmerman, and he basically does the same thing to Miles Robinson.
And he's wearing a big target on his shirt at that point, because when your hands come up the second time to the same spot, you know the referee's just going to call it. He's going right to the spot.
So do I think it's an outlier in the sense of we scored 5 goals? Yes, because 2 of them aren't really goals you're always going to get. Like those spot kicks are
Christian
just...
Pulisic is the next Landon Donovan, bud.
He's
going to get all his goals. And that being said, with the exception of Landon Donovan, Christian Pulisic is climbing very quickly.
Correct.
On the all-time goal scoring list for the United States.
But I do believe that if the U.S. can play like they just did and get things going in the midfield and not blundering passes around, we could easily beat everyone in CONCACAF 2-3-0 if we play like that. And to put it in perspective, if you have not seen it, Google Christian Pulisic hat trick, ignore the first 2 goals, immediately go to the 3rd goal, put it on instant replay multiple times in slow motion, and watch that man commit absolute just murder on the Panama defenders. Because that is a goal that if anyone ever doubted that this man was not playing up to his potential and was struggling for the U.S., he made a point right there with that goal that everyone needs to shut up. I'm playing fine.
Right. I'm doing just great.
Yeah. And even his facial expression after his goal, he basically just scores, runs to the sideline like, I scored. It wasn't a big deal. And it was like,
no big deal.
And it was like, no, that is a big deal, because you not only brought it down in one touch, you nutmegged a guy in one touch, and then put the ball in the corner of the net in one touch.
Right, and you got to have a lot of favor doing that too, because those touches also have to go your way. So Christian doing the right thing to get his foot on the ball, get the right touch, direct it the right way, but he also had to get it to go where it did. So, I mean, again, great result, the United States, 5-1 over Panama. It brings us to just 1 game left, like we had talked about. It's really just more jockeying for position. Ryan with some insight on this, and I'm going to read it a little bit. So, Costa Rica with 9 players. I dropped it. 9 players on yellow cards.
Possible. Accumulating yellow cards. So some of them are not back to back.
Right.
Or some of them are not in a back to back, but some of them are
that if they accumulate the yellow
too
cards,
many.
Right, that they will be forced to miss a game. And if they do, that would put them out of what is statistically going to be them in that playoff spot.
Versus New Zealand. Yes.
It really doesn't look like there's any other scenario. It's just going to be which one, who's winning CONCACAF, and, is the United States second, third, or they first? Where are they going to be? Costa Rica is most likely going to be in that 4th place spot. That being said, since Costa Rica really has nothing to gain on a win, right? Like, I think I'm not trying to be biased. They really don't have anything to gain on a win unless Mexico loses, right?
Correct. If Mexico loses and Costa Rica beats us, but even then,
and
Costa Rica has to beat us.
That Costa Rica will know, correct?
Well, let's say Mexico loses 1-0, right? Let's just hypothetically they lose to El Salvador 1-0, or they lose by a goal.
Right.
So that means Mexico's goal differential is 6. That means Costa Rica has to beat us by 4 goals.
Oh no, all the games are being played at the same time.
But that's still very unlikely, right? If Mexico loses by 1, Costa Rica has to beat us by 4, meaning there's a 5-goal differential that Costa Rica has to make up just for Mexico.
So there's also a chance that people are speculating, and I think the source, we don't know if it's credible or not, is coming from Costa Rican media, is speculating that there's at least a discussion, not a guarantee, but a discussion that Costa Rica will rest a lot of their players and play a B squad so that their A guys are good to go in this playoff. Now, I think that's a smart decision, because
I could see that.
If it was us, if the United States was going to play this last game and there was no way we could automatically qualify, I would be furious if we played like Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie and one of them got hurt, right? Because when you look at it,
carded out of the playoff game.
When you look at it realistically, this game doesn't matter, right? The game doesn't matter at all. And so Costa Rica just needs to lock this next spot. So there's a really good chance the United States can rest a couple of their guys, can go out and get a win. The first time getting a win in Costa Rica, it's hard to get wins away, especially against a side like Costa Rica. 5 of their last 6 have been wins. They've picked up tons of points. I mean, Costa Rica, honestly, and we talked about this after the Mexico game, probably the most dominant team, including Canada, really, in their last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. I don't think there's necessarily anything too crazy that I'm expecting from that game. I mean, I just want to see a quality group of guys go out. I want to see us get a win. I want it to be this kind of happy celebratory moment. I want it to be the seal of the deal. The players get to enjoy it. But as far as rosters go, lineups go, I'm not really looking for anything special. I wouldn't be surprised if Pasilic came in late, maybe 75th, 80th minute. I would like to see Giovanni Reyna play. I would like to see Jesus Ferreira get his confidence up and keep playing. I wouldn't mind Areola playing up front. I don't really think Jordan Morris needs another shot, although I could see him getting one. I would appreciate Yunus Musa getting a rest, Tyler Adams getting a rest. I think some of our backs, Walker Zimmerman needs a rest. No, Pups, you're not coming up here. I think Miles Robinson and Anthony Robinson both could use a break. So I can see a lot of changes happening, but I can also see Greg saying, it's just another game and we're going to go for it.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's always the chance that we win it, Canada loses, and we get to win the group, right? Like, so...
Right, and winning the group
if Canada loses to Panama 2-0, we only have to win 2-0 to win the group. And then we get the group. And that would be nice, and we'll see.
It would be.
I mean, I got to see Buzio play a little bit. Not really much happened, but that was nice. I'd like to see maybe possibly him in the Costa Rica game get some more minutes, because...
I would like that as well. I'd like to see Buzio get some playing time. See what he can do. It's Shaq Moore back there. So after that game, though, that's good. That'll lock up qualifying. There'll be games around the rest of the world, playoffs, final matches. All the rest of the teams getting locked in. I don't remember the time, but Ryan, you'd said Friday is going to be the draw.
Yeah, hang on.
We'll find a time here. So Friday during the day, there's going to be the World Cup draw. All the groups will get drawn. Ryan and I will have a video. It'll be out. If not late Friday night, it will be out bright and early Saturday morning.
It's noon. The draw is at noon on Friday.
All right. So we will be giving you our predictions, and we're going to go for it. I did it the last World Cup. I have a signed picture I will post in the next one. I picked France to win the World Cup. I signed it on like December 1st or whatever the release was. And I did fairly well, although Germany blew my bracket wide open. When Germany got knocked out of the group, I had them going to the final. So that hurt. But we will have winners of groups, runners up, all the way through the whole 9 yards. We'll give you guys an idea. So if you're just soccer fans in general and you're looking to see and you haven't been keeping up with the rest of the group, we're going to give that rundown. And then obviously going a little bit more in detail, we are a U.S. soccer podcast. after this game, there's going to be a pretty big amount of downtime before there's any more U.S. games. Ryan and I will be a little bit more sporadic, but what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to give you very brief recaps of the World Cup qualifying cycles around the world to give you an idea of who the other teams are so that you can sort of put one and one together and get why Ryan and I believe certain teams will come out of certain teams. So going to be a little bit more of like a fantasy soccer world for a little bit, but still USA centered, USA focused. Ryan, any final thoughts before we send this thing out of here?
No, I mean, the U.S. looked in the attacking third looked very deadly, which is not something we ever really get to talk about. So that was something very nice. But then, of course, where we normally talk praise about how we lock the midfield down and the other teams can't do anything, we struggle there. So it'd be nice to just see against Costa Rica if they can put all three together and have a performance where Costa Rica never really does anything and the U.S. gets a couple early and then just sits back and says, sorry, the game's ours. You can't do anything about it.
Agreed. Let's see if we can get some B guys that just go out there, play with some heart, some passion, and pull it all together. Well, there's only one more podcast left, and it's going to be a pretty exciting one for this World Cup qualifying cycle. We want to thank everybody for tuning in.
Shouldn't we have two?
Oh, well, yeah, we're going to have two, but we're going to have one more for the United States for this.
Okay, and then the World Cup draw.
We'll have the World Cup one. So 2 more for this season, 1 more for the United States. As always, make sure you leave some comments, share this video. We're getting a lot of traction with some of our friends watching the video, sharing it with their friends. So if you're them, keep sharing it, keep liking it. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This has been an Extra Time U.S. Soccer Podcast. I'm Tim. This is Ryan, and we'll see you guys next time.